Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. We are watching a very large area across the Gulf. This is likely to be potentially our next tropical storm if it does form. This week it would be Dexter, and it looks like it's taking aim from the eastern to the central Gulf. And we're also going to be watching the rest of the tropics. There is hints that we could be seeing another storm trying to form behind it somewhere between the 25th and the 30th, right on the tail end of a front, and move right into the Gulf like this week's storm. And we'll be watching the Cape Verde season awaken as we head closer to August 1st. And we'll also take a look at your heat wave update along with your severe weather and flood coverage, as we do have a stormy weather pattern. It looks like we'll get a ring of fire going as we get towards the end of July. Let's get into it. So looking at the satellite, infrared satellite of our Invest 93L system, really coming together with some explosive thunderstorm development here. That is why during the day on Wednesday into Thursday, we could be looking at this area in particular, right off the Louisiana coastline here, of maybe our next tropical storm. If it were to form, it would be Tropical Storm Dexter. And if we take a look at the HWRF hurricane model, here it is pinwheeling 11 p.m. through Gainesville, just west of Gainesville, Florida. Our hurricane model taking it right off the coast, kind of losing it for a time here through 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning. But here it is, explosive development, these showers and thunderstorms really ramping up, and there is where the center of circulation lines up a little bit, very close to where it was on the HRRR future radar. And there it is, center of circulation coming in further east, just around the Gulfport area, 2 a.m. on Thursday. So the hurricane model, HWRF, is a little bit quicker than the mesoscale. And if we just follow that inland, there it is, bringing it up across parts of Mississippi, with these feeder bands just continuing to move across southeast Louisiana here throughout the day and into the evening, early morning hours of Friday. And if we take a look at the HMON model here it is exiting off the Florida coastline, early morning hours, and then we progress it across the Gulf. You can see this model is further west and bring it right into southeastern Louisiana, and then right off the central Louisiana coastline, bringing it just to the south here and kind of pushing it towards the west-southwest. So our future radar here of Invest 93L. I'm going to show you this on our HRRR mesoscale model before we dive into the GFS model here as well, and then the European. So here we go. As we head through 9 p.m. on Wednesday, you can see the area of cyclonic motion really starting to get its act together across the north central Gulf. Somewhere in here, that's where I think we're going to start to see that development transition to some sort of tropical low. And here it is through 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 16th. You can see tremendous shower and thunderstorm action across southeastern Louisiana. We do start to get that cyclonic motion just off the coastline here, right around 8 a.m. on Thursday. So it's a very slow mover, plenty of tropical moisture to be had here. Here's 2 p.m., the last frame. You can see really lining up somewhere in here is the center of circulation just off the coast of southeast Louisiana. All right, so looking at our Invest 93L system here on our GFS model, you can see what's going to be happening with our system here. It's going to be pinwheeling across the eastern part of the Gulf and then slowly pushing its way westward here as we head throughout the day on Wednesday here into 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Pretty certain it becomes some sort of tropical low here, potential. If it does become our next tropical storm, it would be Tropical Storm Dexter. You can see it providing southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi and Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, with plenty of tropical rains here through the 17th into 2 p.m. on Thursday. You can see that moving inland, making landfall here into Louisiana. And so we're going to be looking at the potential for rain flaring up each day as this moisture continues to funnel inland across eastern Texas, Louisiana area, Mississippi, and Alabama, especially each day. So watch out. We could be looking at some flooding concerns. Now, as we look out across the rest of the tropics here, we're going to be looking at tropical wave action kicking up here. So initially, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, Honduras, these areas all the way through Puerto Rico look pretty quiet here as we head through the 20th into the 21st. But look what's going to be happening out here. This intertropical convergence zone, if I just back this up a little bit, I can show you the next couple days, 16th, the 17th, into the 18th here. Not much happening. We do have some flare-ups here the 19th, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada area, Barbados. That's where we're getting these showers and thunderstorm action as we continue to go through time here. But this strong tropical wave really starts to make its presence felt around Trinidad, Tobago here on the 22nd into the 23rd. There's going to be some tremendous rains with this, and I'll show you rainfall amounts momentarily. Now, back to the southeast coast and the eastern Gulf. Let's just back this up just a hair here. Well, we're going to be having some energy here. Right around the 21st, you see we have a piece of energy dropping down across the lakes in the northeast. We have this stalled off frontal boundary off the coast of the Carolinas. So as these meet up together, we could have a low pressure system initialize east of Florida here, around this area of high pressure, nosing to the westward. So we may have another scenario where a low pressure does start to form east of Florida. You can see through the 23rd into the 24th. It does start to slowly chug its way westward here, and we could be looking at another tropical system. This one may try to spin up just east of Florida and maybe potentially crossing the Florida Peninsula as we head through the 26th into the 27th. So look at this. This stalled front is not going anywhere anytime soon because this high pressure's got it blocked to the southeast. I'm going to talk about this in just a moment. This is coming onto your screen in northwestern Caribbean. So there you have it through the 28th into the 29th. Let's go back just a hair here. So as we progress back to, here we go on the 23rd. So there's our system in the Gulf. Here's our big tropical wave continuing to move through the Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica here, all the way up to Guadeloupe. This is where we could be looking at some torrential rains. Now look what really starts to get going out here. Intertropical convergence zone. I want to draw your attention to Central Africa here. This is where we're going to really start lining up these big tropical waves into the continent of Africa here. Those are going to pinwheel towards the Cape Verde just south. So if I just back this up, we have two strong tropical waves kind of combining forces here across the central and the western Caribbean on the 27th. This is going to bring some gusty winds and heavy rain to Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. Look at this. And then eventually this moves towards Belize and the Yucatan. Look at Cancun. If you have a vacation planned, it does not look good around the 28th. This looks like a very solid tropical wave, maybe a disturbance by this point, pulling into the Gulf of Mexico. Last frame showing it entering the Gulf. And look at this, south of the Cape Verde Islands, this is where we could be looking at some more flare-ups as well, a tropical wave southeast of the Lesser Antilles. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European model analysis. We're going to be going over Invest 93L here. Look at this. We head into Wednesday. It's heading right out over the Central Gulf, Eastern Gulf. We have a big smattering of moisture here. That's heading towards southeast Louisiana for Thursday. You can see as this high pressure noses to the west here, you can see the isobars bending here. That is signifying that we're going to see this system head due west pretty much towards southeastern Louisiana, where we're likely to get its potential. We could have Tropical Storm Dexter fairly shortly here. But look at even the west coast of Florida. We're really filling in with some tremendous rains here. And then it looks like this tries to make landfall later Thursday into Friday here with some flare-ups towards East Texas as well. So this will be a much slow-moving system once it gets away from the influence of this high pressure, where there's practically no steering currents here. That's some bad news for Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and eastern Texas. But there by Saturday, it's clearing. So let me just back this up a little bit. I wanted to show you, we're going to have a little flare-up around Jamaica, the Cayman Islands on Friday here. Look at Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua here, up the central Yucatan. Cancun, you remain pretty dry here, but look at here. As we head towards Saturday, July 19th, look at this smattering of showers and thunderstorms with these tropical waves. Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados. You're going to be looking at some very heavy rain coming in, especially Sunday with this tropical wave. And we also have some other areas we're going to be watching as we head through time here. So the European going crazy with some rainfall. I know you need the rainfall around Jamaica. Definitely cool it off here for Sunday. That's some great news. Southeastern Bahamas as well. But look what's forming just to the south and east on July 21st here. we got a couple areas we're going to be watching here. And watch this frontal boundary off the U.S. East Coast because it's going to be some trouble as well. But look at this. Strong tropical wave moving through Trinidad, Tobago areas. Once again, the southern Lesser Antilles. Tremendous rainfall. We'll go over those big-time rainfall amounts. I'm going to drop you a hint here. More than 200 millimeters on one of the models. Really crazy. Now watch this. July 22nd. Look at the tail end of this front. Does that look familiar? It looks like a carbon copy of our system for this week, and we could be having another tropical system form in the Eastern Gulf around July 23rd. There it is, tail end of a front, and it's heading right towards southeastern Louisiana. Now look what's happening for Thursday the 24th, another tropical wave. We're lining up these tropical waves. Watch off the coastline as well. We could have another tropical storm try to spin up if these thunderstorms remain very persistent. Now, as we head towards the 25th into the 26th, look what's happening here. Strong tropical waves just lining up, and I'm going to show you these off the screen here. 27th into the 28th. Look at this. We have another area making its way into the Eastern Gulf. Towards the southern Caribbean, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, and another strong tropical wave moving right through the central and northern Lesser Antilles that time, the 28th into the 20th. Look at this. Some of these look like they're trying to spin up at this point, and we'll have to watch this because I think things are really going to open up in the tropics. Look at this. 29th, strong tropical wave moving through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands here, and through Dominican Republic and Haiti. And then there it is through Belize as well. So we're going to watch for the pipeline of tropical systems to really begin to open up here. All right, so let's go back here. I'm going to show you the ITCZ out here into the MDR of the Atlantic. Look at this as we head through Friday, July 18th. Look at how this starts to bounce further to the north. You're getting these big-time tropical waves moving off the African coastline here. We're just lining them up here, and that's what's going to be happening as we head through the end of the month. Look at this one in particular. This is right around the 24th. This one does try to initiate a low-pressure system on the European model. It does bear watching as we head through the 27th into the 28th, but look at this. This is what we might have a spin-up right here between Bermuda and the Azores as well. So here it is. This really does start to look more like August as we head towards the end of July here. And sea surface temperature analysis here, where our Invest 93L is heading. The North Central Gulf is very much above average here. We are looking close to 2.5, sometimes 3 degrees. Also off the U.S. East Coast, Lesser Antilles, where we'll see a big parade of tropical waves heading into next week and the week after. I do think the Caribbean and the Cape Verde area does start to warm up as that Saharan dust thins. And here we go with liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here. Heavy downpours. We may see some cropping up around Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic here. Belize, parts of Honduras through Sunday here. Look at this. We start to get surging moisture across Central America here. Parts of Belize upwards of 100 to 200 millimeters here, especially northern Honduras as well. Some areas close to 175. We do start to get a little bit more here around Jamaica. Some areas as high as 70 or 80 millimeters here in the red. Dominican Republic, much of eastern and southwestern Dominican Republic getting upwards of 60 to 100 millimeters. That's some good news. And Belize here, there it is, close to 200 here in the southern portion. And eastern Honduras, 190 millimeters there. Look at that. A lot of this bottled up in the Eastern Gulf, though. All right, the Western Caribbean with our GFS run. Yeah, it's a little bit wetter. This goes through the 28th. You see eastern Belize, upwards of 160, 180 millimeters. Eastern Honduras as well. Jamaica, some areas of over 100 millimeters here. 163 on the eastern part of the island near Portland Parish. That would be great. Look at that. So even the western part of the island, 124 millimeters. Generalized 40 to 80 elsewhere. Look at Dominican Republic. Some areas upwards of close to 100 millimeters here. There it is, the eastern Gulf, though, but northern Bahamas, upwards of 90 to 125 millimeters. And here we go into the eastern Caribbean. Watch this. Look at this. Tropical wave action is going to be surging through the end of the month, through the 30th here. Look at this. Puerto Rico, yeah, you could eke out 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, close to an inch in some locations. eastern part of the island as well, upwards of 2 inches. But look at the Lesser Antilles here. Trinidad, Tobago, these areas could see upwards of 100 to 125 millimeters of rain, especially the east-facing coastlines here as well. All right, so let's take a look at the rainfall amounts associated with Invest 93L here. This is what we're going to be looking at here as we continue through time. Look at this. So yeah, some of these rainfall amounts could be upwards of 6, 7, maybe as high as 8 inches of rain here, locally higher amounts, so watch out. Much of Florida, 2 to 4 inches. Panhandle will be 5 to 6, maybe 7 inches here. But southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi and Alabama, the coastal areas, this is where I'm concerned we could really rack up the rainfall totals. All right, so looking at the GFS here, rainfall amounts looking kind of crazy. Let's take a look at the latest GFS run here. There we go. So this takes us all the way through the 27th. You get the idea here. We're going to see 2, 3, 4, 5, some of these areas 6 or 7. So the Euro's going higher with rainfall amounts here. Really interesting, all the way through the end of the month as well. But you get the idea. The potential for 2 tropical systems is here. All right, so as we look into August here, this is why I think things are really going to start cranking in the tropics. The Cape Verde season opens up the entire Caribbean, and much of the western and eastern Gulf really opens up as well. Watch the East Coast as well, although we're seeing below average precipitation off the New England coastline here. All right, so for the Western Pacific here, yeah, we have what's left here. Tropical Depression 8. It's just been moving across the Japanese islands here as we head to the 16th into the 17th. It's actually bringing in its wake here tremendous line of tropical moisture through Seoul, South Korea, all the way to Tokyo, Japan here. This has been going to be quite a deluge as this continues to pinwheel westward across Hiroshima and Nagasaki here and the southern part of South Korea. So unfortunately, what's going to potentially form out of this, you can see through the 18th into the 19th, we may be looking at our next tropical storm or even typhoon approach Taiwan as we head into the 19th into the 20th. So watch out. This could be heading towards South China, and we may have a landfalling system here. So watch out. Lots of tropical moisture moving across the northern Philippines into southern China and Taiwan here. Look it up here, though, the 19th. We do see what's left of our tropical depression way up here forming a low. Another area, a low diving southeastward here. Pretty interesting pattern. South Korea's and the Japanese islands look pretty clear through the 21st, but the big trouble is down here across the northern Philippines and Taiwan, where we may have another tropical storm or typhoon trying to wind up here. Look at this. And this moves in the direction of South Korea and Shanghai at this point. You can see this really just a massive area of low pressure with tremendous tropical moisture on the east side, surging into Japan and South Korea here up to Seoul, Tokyo, and all of these cities here across Japan, looking at tremendous rainfall. And that starts to push towards the northeast, the 27th into the 28th, where we get these areas of low pressure. Watch out. Any of these areas of low pressure could form into any tropical systems, especially with the water temperatures out here. So plenty of moisture to work with. So looking at our total liquid equivalent precipitation here across the Western Pacific, yeah, it's not just Japan. It's also Taiwan. Also, northern Philippines, where some areas could get upwards of 1,000 millimeters. That's a lot of rain. Now, look at southern Japan, somewhere area 300 to 400 millimeters. You know, you're talking rainfall in some areas approaching 8 to 12 inches. Look at the southern Korean peninsula as well. Some areas close to 350 millimeters. And look, yeah, there's Taiwan, 500, 600 millimeters. Northern Philippines, 700 to 1,000 millimeters. So there's plenty of tropical moisture over here. All right, so let's take a look at our future radar here. Obviously, I showed you what's happening in the Gulf. We're going to take a look at the rest of what's going to be happening overnight into Wednesday. You can start to see some moisture off the Carolina coastline here, also into Ohio, and then back through the Midwest as well. Watch what's going to be happening with this as we go out through time. So Cleveland down to Akron and into Dayton, we could see some showers and thunderstorm action just off the Outer Banks. Obviously, we have our Invest 93L system down here, but look at this. As we head through 5 p.m., we get a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. Most of these should be below severe levels. The main threat is going to be the flash flooding issue. So if you do get any over you, they could drop a tremendous amount of rain. And look at this, right over Lake Michigan, 10 p.m., most of that moves out of Ohio by this point. We got some shower and thunderstorm action moving across Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And look at this big complex up here into eastern Michigan. This looks a little bit like a mesoscale convective system. And then here we go through 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. We get that front trying to move through. So here it is. We're going to watch for some shower and thunderstorm action cropping up here. So if we pick up with our feature radar left off here, as we continue through the rest of your week, Thursday, you can see that high pressure anchored off the coast. We'll be watching for a potential Louisiana landfall here, it looks like, with some moisture hanging out around eastern Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama as well. Now, as we head through the 19th here into the 20th, watch out because we have this stalled frontal boundary off the coast. We have some storms firing into parts of the Appalachians and the Mid-Atlantic here, and this is where we get some mesoscale systems, convective systems starting to really crank up here across the lakes into the Ohio Valley. There it is, the 21st. You see one diving southward across the area with lots of rain across Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And then we start to get another one. This does move off the coast, but watch out because that's where things do start to get pretty interesting. Another area of low pressure does start to try to form off the coast, as I showed you in the tropics, and we could be looking at the potential for another storm trying to propagate westward towards parts of the eastern Gulf. But here it is into the lakes. Yeah, mesoscale convective system moving through Ohio, Michigan, western New York, western Pennsylvania, slipping southward there. And there's that area of high pressure. We do start to see tropical moisture just off the east coast as well. That propagates and stalls a little bit further west as we head towards the 27th here. You can see that boundary just south of North Carolina here. We're going to be watching this. Another area move through, another MCS moving through New England here. So yeah, the ring of fire is definitely alive here. We do start to get high pressure building off the New England coastline though. Towards the 29th. All right, so looking at our severe weather outlook for your Wednesday, marginal risk across a large area of the Central Plains through the Midwest here, and there is that slight risk across the Chicago and southern Wisconsin area, all of northern Illinois. And surprisingly, as we head on into Thursday, it's quite shocking that a lot of these thunderstorms aren't severe. We just have a regular garden variety thunderstorms without a risk of severe. Very interesting. All right, so starting off here with the European run. As we go through time, you can see what's going to be happening. Picking up with our feature radar. Here we go. Later on into Thursday, we have showers and thunderstorm action across the Ohio Valley into the northeast. There it is, Thursday afternoon. Look at this. We could have some very strong thunderstorms moving through parts of Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and even parts of New England. Now, here's our potential tropical system, maybe a tropical storm by this point. Taking aim on southeast Louisiana. Look it up here in the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes. Showers and thunderstorms continuing. And then look at this. Tropical moisture from what is left of our tropical system moves well inland for Friday and the weekend. And then, of course, Saturday, look at this. We get more showers and thunderstorms moving through the Ohio Valley into the Appalachians, Pennsylvania, Ohio here. Look at this all the way through Sunday. Unfortunately, you eke out a good day Saturday, but look at this. For Sunday, showers and thunderstorms move into the northeast, eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, where it's been waterlogged as of late. And then heading on into Monday into Tuesday, that low remains pretty progressive out to sea. And look at this. This looks like the classic ring of fire setting up. Look at these deer ratio type systems, maybe some MCSs here getting cranking around it. Moving through northern Ohio, northeast Ohio, upstate New York, Pennsylvania for Wednesday, the 23rd. And then another one dropping southward towards northwest Ohio here. Look at this, another one cranking out. So we're just going to see these systems pinwheel around. And then look at this. This is also the one that was showing up on the GFS is also showing up here on the European model by Wednesday, the 23rd. Look at this. Potential tropical system in the Gulf, heading right towards southeast Louisiana again. with more heavy rain. So we're going to watch for that possibility here. Look at these low pressures, though. With this big high setting up, these lows are forced way up and over, all the way up to Hudson Bay here, dragging a cold front southeastward here on the 27th. Showers and thunderstorms, severe potential here as well into the 28th. You can see more MCSs moving around this big high pressure. So definitely a very summer-like pattern here as we head through the end of the month. Look at this, even off the coastline, the 30th, we get lots of showers and thunderstorms lining up here. And then look at this, another big storm, the 30th, come the end of the month, moving through Ohio, western New York, western Pennsylvania. And total liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here on our European run. Look at this. Yeah, as we head through early next week into, look at this. You can start to see the East Coast, especially the Southeast, you'll get some rainfall here, about 2 to 3 inches. But look at the central, especially the north central Gulf Coast, Florida Panhandle, over to southeast Louisiana. That's where heavy rain is going to be. But look at up here in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, interior Northeast. There's some areas that could get 4 to 6 inches of rain. And as we just zoom in here, here's the Gulf Coast. Some of these areas could get up to 7 to 8 inches of rain, maybe locally higher here with our tropical system. Look at up here through the Ohio Valley, though, Midwest. Some of these areas, some parts of Ohio getting upwards of 5, 6, close to, there to 6 inches of rain, and anywhere from 2 to 3 inches here along the East Coast. All right, so nationally here with the GFS, you can see what's going to be happening. Yeah, there's the Ohio Valley, upper Midwest, Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, GFS going higher than the Euro for parts of the Mid-Atlantic. Storm track a little further to the south here. You can see out of the Midwest approaching these areas, unfortunately, more heavy rain. But there's the deal, 4 to 6 inches here into portions of the yellow zones. Look at just off the Outer Banks here. This is a little worrisome. 10, close to 12 inches in some of these locations. So depending on where you are, you could be racking up a lot of rainfall totals. Look at parts of the Northeast, though. You'll actually see less in the next 2 weeks. So if you've been having some flooding problems, this is some great news for you. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, please smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Please help me get to 20,000 subscribers here. And if you haven't caught my Hurricane 2025 Outlook, there's a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Let's continue. And our upper air pattern for North America here, you can see, look at that ridge across the east. We do get some troughiness up here across Canada, but it doesn't look like it's going to extend much east here. It seems like this big old ridge to the east here just continues across eastern North America. As we follow the Euro all the way through the end of the month, we do start to see evidence of maybe a little troughiness around the Great Lakes here. All right, so our NAO index, we are in negative now, and we're staying negative and more towards neutral towards the end of the month here. So things may get a little less stormy. And here we go with the MJO index. You can see what's going to be happening as we go through time here. We are going from phase 5 into 6 and maybe 7 as we head on into the middle part of August. So we have a quiet period likely for early August, but that's likely to be replaced with much more active conditions. All right, so for our Canadian weather outlook here, yeah, we've got more wildfires burning up here, unfortunately. This is not very good. Unfortunately, it's going to remain clear up here, but look at Ontario, Quebec. You see a big storm around the 17th into the 18th here, New Brunswick, Canadian Maritimes. Let's see if we can get you some rain out here, because it's a lot of smoke with these wildfires reigniting here. Now, British Columbia through the 18th into the 19th, that's where you're going to see some showers. We get a little bit of a light system actually try to get some overrunning and convective type elements here into southern and central Alberta and southwestern Saskatchewan here. So at least this is a little bit of rain, but watch out. This piece of energy coming from the north will actually help meet up with this system into Alberta. And it looks like Alberta starts to really fill in right around the 20th and 21st into Saskatchewan. So we'll try to get some cooler air on the backside of this as well, more humidity. That is great news for the wildfires. Back east, high pressure building in across Canada, which you can afford this because thankfully it's been very wet as of late. This out here, though, is really, really great news. to see this kind of rain moving through. Now watch out ahead of it. You may see some convective lines of showers and thunderstorms, damaging wind, large hail, isolated tornadoes through western Ontario through the 21st into the 22nd. That kind of moves east, but you also get some of this low pressure, this moisture hanging back across Saskatchewan. That is some great news, bringing you some rain here. And then as we head through the 24th, we actually get some MCS chances here. Mesoscale convective systems. Watch out. Southern Ontario, Quebec. We may have some of these systems that really try to wind up here. That one bombs out into a big area of low pressure across the Canadian Maritimes. Now, as we head through the 27th into the 28th, you can see what's going to be happening here. We got a few systems moving east, southeast here across New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, southeastern Quebec, but unfortunately, we're building in high pressure out west here. We do have some little areas of storminess from time to time with some fast-moving flow out here. So that will be the silver lining as we head through the 29th here. So if we take a look at the Canadian liquid equivalent precipitation, unfortunately, where the wildfires are burning, not much through Saturday here. We do start to get a little bit early next week, which is some great news. And then we start to really fill it in across southern Alberta, Manitoba here, Saskatchewan. But there it is. You know, further north up here in Alberta, these areas, it's not as much rain, but yeah, we're starting to get a little bit more relief here, 60 to 100 millimeters, some areas closer to 110, 120. Even Southeast Canada here, look at a lot of rain up across Ontario and Quebec. Temperatures are just going to be miserable here. Look at this as we head through Wednesday. Much of the Northeast getting well into the mid-90s here. Heat index values way above 100 in many areas. Heat advisories are in effect. Even the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, we're just baking out here. Look at this, though. If we could get some of this to pivot, let's take a look and see if this is going to happen. So as we look through Thursday, guidance is showing us 70s all across the plains in the Midwest. We just can't get any relief back here with the 90s. Look at this Friday, though. Yes, here it is. There it is, 70s for the lakes and the Northeast. This is wonderful. Will it last, though? Let's take a look. As we look at Saturday, look at the Carolinas just baking down here, mid to high 90s. But look at the Northeast here. It's mainly some lower 80s and some 70s across the upper Midwest here. And as we continue through Sunday here, it's remaining much better up in this region. Lots at lower 80s, which is much more tolerable. And look at that. We head into Monday next week, plenty of 80s. Extended forecast from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, we have more heat and humidity building on Wednesday. We also have a chance of an afternoon shower. A thunderstorm is going to be miserable well into the 90s. Heat index values near 100 into Thursday. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Some could contain damaging wind, large hail. Continued warm, lower 90s once again into Friday. We finally cool it back towards an insane temperature in the upper 70s into Saturday. Looks beautiful. Sunny, right around 80 degrees. And into Sunday, we have a chance of showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. High in the lower to mid 80s. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.